let's just start generally where all the conversation is with the Canucks and their season that they've had. You know, we've been kicking this around all year. I know you've talked about what this season was supposed to be, the growth of the kids, a new coach, dare I say Star Wars: A New Hope. Where do you think the season ended up?
Yeah, I think it's the ultimate commentary on this franchise where it's in right now, that they finished 26th overall and it's kind of viewed as a qualified success. I think obviously the number one story is the emergence of Brock Boeser as an elite goal scorer. Now there's a bunch of issues within there, but let's take this at face value and think that he is who he showed he is, which is like a consistent 30 to 35, maybe even a 40 goal scorer. That fills a huge piece of the puzzle going forward. And then the other interesting thing was this year was almost a bit of a holding pattern, because like they're just trying to tread water, waiting for, you know, that the other level of prospects to integrate their way into the lineup, and that really starts next year, and it probably starts in earnest 2 years from now, when we're going to have a better read of where these guys are. So I think, taken on balance, I remember sitting here at the start of the year saying that this season wouldn't be judged on wins and losses. It would be judged on a bunch of other things. As crazy as it sounds, I think this season, when you look at, you know, look at it from top to bottom, it's probably about this much optimism.
So it's interesting you say that the story of the season is Brock Boeser, of course, and of course it is. You know, the Canucks, you go back to the start of the season when he was scratched for the first 2 games, they've found out they had a legitimate superstar in their hands, medical issues aside. But, you know, he didn't play the last portion of the season, and yet we were left with, we'll get into Sedin's in a bit, but from their retirement and this strange winning streak they went on at the end of the year, with this rosy glow at the end of the year. Is there cause for optimism, really? Or do you think this team is back where they were?
I prefer the word encouragement. I think that's it. I mean, you have to be guarded with everything you say about the Canucks, because we have no idea if that was just a tease, or if that really is kind of like a legitimate foreshadowing of what's to become, of what's to come. And I referenced Jake Virtanen, who all of a sudden has emerged as a really key player in this. I mean, last year he looked like he was going to be a bust. This year it looked like, okay, maybe he can make it as a fourth line or a third liner guy and goes up his wing. But now all of a sudden, I mean, geez, what's the ceiling on this guy? Can he be an impact player? Because you know, like, they've gone from a situation where they weren't expecting a whole lot from him to maybe, just maybe, and with everything else they've got coming, if he is that guy, that's a massive development. And I think the other interesting thing about the last 9 games was the emergence of Jacob Markstrom. Now, again, who knows? It's a 9-game sample. It's not over 82 games. But he gave them top-flight NHL goaltending, and for this thing to have a prayer of working, they're going to need that next year. And the presumption is always going to be that Thatcher Demko would be the guy who'd provide that. But Markstrom gave them, you know, just a little hint of maybe, just maybe.
So, just to go back to Virtanen for a second, he did only get 20 points on the year, but I know what you're saying, that there were plays there where you saw flashes of, absolutely, if that's brought on a regular basis, he could be a dominant player. And I also think of Goldobin, who sort of after Boeser went down, after the first 10 games that Goldobin was regularly in the lineup, people are like, oh, he's nothing. I see why they gave up on him. But again, whether it's just fool's gold or whatever you want to call it, the last few games you started to see a guy who was actually, the experience seemed to be valuable for him. Are the Sedins the perfect example of having some patience with a young talent? Because honestly, so many players are tagged with the bust after 3 seasons. And as the Sedin showed, sometimes it takes a little bit longer.
Well, no, and that's why I reject these, these attempts to, you know, try and identify and define these guys, what they are at 20, 21, 22, because you just don't know. Nobody has a hot clue, right? And like, it was funny, the Sedin Arama gave me a chance to go back over the years and revisit their career and some of the things I was writing in 02 and 03 and 04. At the start of the 03-04 season, both of them had 2 goals at the midway point of the season. And they were being rid off like this is a catastrophe. And that's when they actually caught fire and really, gave an inkling of what was to come. So, like, you just don't know. Nobody saw Ryan Kessler, like when he was coming out of Winnipeg, what he would become. Nobody saw Kevin Bieksa. Nobody certainly saw Alex Burrows and things like that. I remember getting into a fight with Botchford over these guys saying,
that's surprising.
Yeah, I know. There was a slight difference of opinion. And I guess my point was, like, you just don't know. You can infer, you can draw logical assumptions, you can, maybe project with a bit of a degree of accuracy, but you never know because there is this element of human error and human foibles in all this that you can never account for.